Welcome into another edition of Inside Broncbuster Athletics. I'm Mike Pilosof. This week we dive into the area of track and field and cross country. We bring in head coach Emmett Statzer. Pleased that you come on the show. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you having me.
Always appreciate your time. I know you're a busy guy. This is kind of it's a weird time for coaches. We'll get into that here in a second. And I've talked to so many different ones that have a different idea of the way the landscape is played out with everything going on. But just getting to Garden City, not only do you have a pandemic going on, but this is your first year. You're back in the saddle as a track and cross country coach. So how and why Garden City?
Well, we are back in the saddle, no pun intended. Go Broncbusters.
Love it.
But we are back in the saddle. I was at Iowa Western for 11 and a half years prior to coming here to Garden City, and took a couple of years off. Did a little soul searching, checking to see if that's really what I wanted to do the rest of my life was coach. And after taking a couple of years off and doing a couple other jobs, one of them was working for FedEx, and another one was running a transportation company, limousines and buses. Decided, I want to get back to what I love to do, and that's coaching. So found out from a former Garden City coach, Ryan Turner, that the position was open here at Garden City, and decided to throw my application in, dust off the resume, and give it a run again.
When you got out, and a lot of coaches experience this, when you get out of the profession, it doesn't matter what it is, it's hard to get back in. Did you ever envision yourself being back as a head coach at this level?
I think I had come to the point in my life that it was probably not going to happen again, and I was okay with that. And then as you see your coaching peers successful at different levels, some of your athletes are, talking to you on Facebook, hey, coach, what are you doing these days? Really starts to kind of fester under the skin and get you thinking again about, am I doing the right thing? And decided, I need to be what I love to do, and that's coaching. So
you mentioned Ryan Turner. What did he tell you about Garden City?
It's interesting because a lot of time when coaches get to certain stages in their life and they move on, they have no intentions of ever going back. That's part of their life, and they moved on, and that door's closed, and then there's another one open. And Ryan told me, in asking about Garden City, Ryan told me, out of all the places he's coached, all the places he's been, that's the one job, the one place that I wouldn't mind going back to. And that to me meant a lot because, when you want to go back to something that you've already done, you had a great experience there. And I think a lot of that has to do not just with the college, but with the community and the people here. And I can see that now, being here for a few months. I can see what Ryan was talking about.
Especially hanging out with me for
of course,
like 5
Mike,
hours.
For sure, you.
There's some tradition here. Dan Delgado, who you know, Doug Marshall, who's now the Iowa Western head coach. So it seems like you know all these people, and here you are. And when I say tradition, there's been some success. Even with the program being down last year, they had some top 5 finishers. For you, what kind of program are you inheriting? Tell the people where this program was, what you're inheriting.
There's a lot of tradition here in all the sports and in athletics in general. There's a lot of heritage and tradition here in the college itself, being one of the oldest junior colleges in the state of Kansas.
I like how you did your history research.
Yeah. It's one of 2 existing junior college programs that were initially, 4 of those programs were started, and there's only 2 still open in Garden City's one of those. So yes, history lesson there. I did pay attention. But we got to get this program back to, you can be successful in track and field and cross country in a lot of ways. You can have individual success, you can have team success, you can have academic success, you can have athletic success. There's lots of definitions for success in our sport. The thing that I want to bring back is the team success as a team. To bring team success in, I have to bring in individual success. One of the ways we're going to start doing that is bringing back the cross country team and make that distance team the foundation for our track team. So bring that team success back, but you can't have team success if you don't have individual success. You can't have any of that if you don't have numbers. So one of the things that I think is very important is getting numbers back into the program. We need to get a good sized team here.
With all talk about numbers, and we started the show by prefacing everything by saying this is kind of an unusual time. You've coached for a long time. You've never coached during a pandemic. I don't know anybody in this generation that has, but here you are. So football, basketball, their recruiting is a little different than what you have. When they tell you to bring in numbers and you're restricted at a lot of things, and that's just the way it is across the board at every school and every level right now, what and really how big of a challenge has that been first year taking over in a pandemic and trying to get those numbers in?
The biggest thing is dealing with these athletes who their dreams and goals were to go compete in track and field or cross country at the collegiate level. But when their seasons were canceled in high school, their senior year, they lost a lot of that drive to do that, because our sport is driven around performance. You have a good mark, you have a bad mark. You have a good time, you have a bad time. People are not going to recruit you if you don't have a good mark or you don't have a good time. They're just not. So what has had to change is the concept of who I'm going to bring in to help me build this team. And so I had to open up my eyes and change my criteria and go, I want to bring in student athletes. I want to bring in somebody who's going to come in here and they might be the national champion, but if you were to look at their mark, you'd think we're a long ways away from that goal. But at the same time, I want to bring in that kid that's going to be a good kid, a kid that's going to give back to our community here, a kid that's going to represent the track and field cross country program, a kid that's going to take care of business in the classroom. So I was able to go out and get some kids, I feel, that are going to fit that criteria. And if we get some national qualifiers, we get a national champion out of this year's recruiting class, that's going to be a huge bonus. But really what I wanted to bring in was a good nucleus of kids here for the right reasons to help me get this program back in the direction I want to go with it.
I'll leave you on this, and for people that don't know you, and there's plenty of people that do, first thing when you pull up in your driveway, you've got the big boat, you've got the Harley, you've got a truck, so you've got toys, and you have a large family. So intertwine all that. Take us through a typical day in the Statzer household.
Well, first of all, Mike, you forced me to deep clean my house last night when you sent me the text, can we do this interview at your house?
And you Lysol too.
Yeah, I mean, I had to deep clean this thing. So by the time I got to bed at 4 o'clock this morning, to have my house ready for you to come in and do this interview, and then beg for somebody to take 2 of the 7 children that I have, so that we can keep it quiet enough in here to conduct this interview. It's a little chaotic. I'm pretty, everything I got has been a blessing. And for some people, they go, you crazy, or, what? Wow. Here I am. Most men, when they go through midlife crisis, they go buy a boat, they go buy a Harley, they go buy a sports car.
And you've done all that.
We did that early in my life. I hit my midlife crisis earlier. But then when I actually hit my true midlife crisis, we went and adopted 2 more little girls. So, easiest way to say it is we don't do anything normal in this household by any means. But if you were going to be looking for Emmett Statzer and he wasn't at the track or wasn't in his office, he's probably out sneaking a ride on his Harley, because that's just a good way to get a little bit of healing and a little bit of time to himself. And then if we got the open weekend and the water is in the lake, the family is in the water. I got a family of fish, so I got to get them to water on a regular basis or they feel deprived. So you could probably catch us out doing some wakeboarding or kneeboarding or something on the water.
Love it. Well, you got to decompress with everything that's crazy that's going on right now. So appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate what you do as well.